Welcome back, and what we're going to do right now is we're going to get a fancy text editor and learn how to use the command line interface and make things easier for us. My favorite is Notepad++, which you can get at notepad++.org. Download, install, and then click next a bunch of times. If you don't want to install Notepad++, you don't have to. You can use just notepad.exe, your basic text editor on Windows. I don't recommend you try to use things like Microsoft Word because they're going to try to make files that are probably not going to work because they will only save things like Word documents. They won't save Python files the way we want them to. Open up a new file in your favorite text editor and type print, quote, hello, quote. Now make sure to do save as and name your file hello.py. This .py lets your computer know that this is a Python file. One nice thing about using a text editor like Notepad++ is that after we save our plain text as a Python file, we see that it becomes highlighted. We can see the word print becomes blue because it's a special command in Python. Similarly, the quoted word hello becomes gray. Okay, so now let's run our Python code in our command line. In order to do this, we go back to the command line prompt, and we type in our path to python.exe, but then we press space and write the path to our file that we just saved. This path to our file is an argument to python.exe. It tells python.exe to do something differently than it would if we had not passed any arguments. Specifically, when we pass a file, it says, instead of opening up the normal python.exe that you were playing with earlier, instead just run the file that I've given you. And we see that when we run this file in Python, it will print out the word hello and then return to the prompt. If we have to type the path to the file every time, that sounds like it's going to be tedious, so let's make our lives easier. The prompt tells us that we are currently in the working directory c/users/u. So in our examples earlier, c:/python27/python.exe is an absolute path. It says that if you start at this drive and you go into these subfolders, you will find the file python.exe at this location. However, for our argument, we didn't use an absolute path. We could, of course, but it's more to type. Instead, what we used is a relative path. Here, the ./ means start at the current folder. The dot means current folder, which is our C users U, based on our prompt. Then go into the subfolder desktop, and then in desktop is our file hello.py. If we had saved hello.py in a different location, we can also get to it even if it's not in a subfolder by using the ../ command. ../ means instead of going to the current folder, go to the folder that is one up from the current folder. And we can chain this, so we can do .. // which means go up 2 folders and then look for the file hello.py. Since our current working directory is c/users/u, that means go up to the C drive and look for hello.py saved directly onto the C drive inside of no folders. So that's a good start, but we can make our lives a little bit easier. Because remember, programmers are really lazy. We want to create ways to make doing our job easier. So what if we were working with a lot of different files on our desktop, and we weren't really interested in the files just in our U directory? Well, what we can do is we can just change the current working directory to our desktop using the change directory function. So we type in cd and then /desktop. This changes our prompt to show that we're now working in the desktop folder. If we did cd .. /me, then we go up to and then down into the me folder. If we want to change drives, we just type the letter of the drive and then a colon and press enter. Now we don't have to type as much. But since our Python executable, python.exe, is in a different folder than where we're saving our Python files, we still have to type at least 2 different paths. We can make our lives easier by making a shortcut to Python. In Windows 7 or Windows 8, we can do this by adding to the path variable of our operating system. Briefly, we press Windows and pause, we click Advanced System Settings, we click Environment Variables, we find the one that's called Path, and we click Edit. And then we add this exact phrase to the end of the line. That's semicolon, and then the path to our python.exe file. After we click OK and we restart our command prompt, now instead of having to type the full path, we just can type the word Python. The path variable says whenever a command prompt is given a phrase of just one word like that, that is a program that it is trying to run, and it will try to find it within any of the different folders within the path. So by typing Python, it'll check all the different paths that we have in our path variable, and it will find that there is a file called python.exe in our C Python27 folder, so it'll know that whenever you type Python, you're referring to python.exe. Go back into your command prompt and go ahead and type cd desktop and then python hello.py. You are now ready to learn how to code in Python.